Good evening. I'm John Bailey. This is People to be Heard, the program where people who have something to say have their say. And tonight you've got Major Jenny Alarcon, a Corps officer with her husband Sam of the White Plains Salvation Army mission in White Plains, and of course John Vorpurian, host of Beyond the Game, who is also on White Plains Television, who is also a member of the Salvation Army Board of Directors in White Plains, and they're here to talk about the demands this time of year that are brought to the Salvation Army and how the organization is coping with it. First of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for coming on.
Pleasure
John,
to be here.
always a pleasure being on with you. And what I'd like to start off with, besides the volunteers that we see around White Plains this time of year, ringing bells and asking for donations, what other programs are you running this holiday season for White Plains and Westchester residents that you want to spread the word about and need volunteers for?
Well, we all year round we need volunteers for the after-school program. Mm-hmm. We run a program throughout the year. Mm-hmm. Children from K to 6th grade are coming, and they receive tutoring, they receive music instruction, and activities, and we definitely need help with that. During this time of year, one of the things we really need are volunteers to ring the bell. Mm-hmm. It seems to be that we start off with a whole bunch of people who want to help. But as you know, it gets cold, mm-hmm. people drop out little by little, and then, you know, we end up with very few. Mm-hmm. So we need people who will do that. And we also have a program at Christmas time where we provide the families with a box of food and toys for the kids. Mm-hmm. And so another opportunity is for people to come alongside us and help us with distribution day. So,
but how many of those packages do you put out?
We put out about 200. Mm-hmm. We have so far about 200 families that have mm-hmm. signed up and asked for help with that. And the corporations in White Plains, I will say, have been overwhelming with mm-hmm. helping us to be able to fulfill the wishes. Sure. MasterCard is one of the large ones. MasterCard has mm-hmm. taken, we call them stars. It's called Wish Upon a Star. And they've taken 500 stars, and that means that they give it out to their employees. Their employees then grant the wish that the child has for Christmas, a gift, mm-hmm. and we go to them, they give it to us, we pick it up, and then we take it to our
mm-hmm.
Corps.
And, well, corporate America doing good, which is, I think,
yeah.
that is the theme as the Salvation Army this year, folks, is celebrating its 150th anniversary, founded in 1867. And now, you've been here 5 months with your husband, Sam, and this mm-hmm. is your husband, Sam, who couldn't be with us. There he is. Right there, and you're having your 150th anniversary. But what I'd like to ask is, you've been here 5 months. Could you describe how heads or Corps officers of Salvation Army missions come to these positions? What is the process?
Every Salvation Army officer starts in 2 years of training, and mm-hmm. when you're in training, you are a cadet. Mm-hmm. During those years of training, you will go to classes. It's like a college. Mm-hmm. But you also go out on the field. Mm-hmm. For example, we have 2 cadets with us for Christmas. So they're learning the ropes. They're mm-hmm. figuring out everything that needs to be done during Christmas time. After that, they'll send you to your first assignment, which is more often than not as an assistant somewhere. And then from there, they will look at what you do, mm-hmm. what you do well, if there's a good match for you in a different, mm-hmm. City, state,
and it could
country.
Be all over the country, right?
It could be all over the country, and if you wish it to be, it could be all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right. So how did you come to White Plains? And John, what was the process?
For my own
Yeah,
individual
yeah,
journey
yeah,
with
yeah.
the Salvation Army, essentially, you mentioned the television personality angle. They dialed me up and asked, "We see your show. Would you like to host our 150th gala that took place?" And I said, "Oh, sure." And Harry Carson was an honoree. Barbara Vrooman was also recognized at the gala for her activities in support of the Army. And lo and behold, they asked me to step out in the hall at one particular pre-gala meeting, and next thing you know, I was somehow voted onto the advisory board. So these folks have a good recognition of talent, but then again, I was quite happy to get involved with the Army, given how the mission of meeting the needs of people's requirements for mind, body, soul, spirit just come together. So I will be, they've recruited me again to host this next year's breakfast, which will transpire on April 5th, 2018 at the White Plains Crowne Plaza. And they've gone back to this type of event of what will be titled Break Poverty Fast. I think that's important, that we as human beings focus on how can we help cure poverty and meet people's needs, and hope viewers tap into April 5th to come on by and say hello to Jenny at the White Plains Crowne Plaza. that day.
Absolutely, and Sam,
Absolutely.
who was going to be on the program, but he had to take the volunteers out to their areas in White Plains. And where are you collecting in White Plains? Or
We're collecting
accepting
in many
donations?
places. We have a stand at the Westchester Mall. We have a stand at the Galleria Mall. I believe some of the Stop and Shops and Sam's does allow us to stand, but I will say my husband is in it all the time, and he's always going around to drop off the volunteers, then he goes around to check on them, see if they need some coffee, something to keep them warm. So he knows all of the locations by heart at this point, because he's basically there every day, you know. So
Now, looking forward as you go into your next 6 months, to what do you see the Salvation Army's problems or missions, new missions going ahead?
I'd say, as far as possibly challenges that we have, our building, I would say, would probably be a challenge. It is a beautiful historical building that at one time was a Jewish synagogue. And it really is beautiful. When you look at it, it looks like a country church, just in the midst of this big, city. But it is old, falling apart, and we need to be able to build onto it. We have this phenomenal music program that is basically, we oversee it, of course, but it's run by young people who they themselves learned music in the Salvation Army when they were children.
Really?
And so it's this unbelievable, to me, and I can say this because we just got here, so we didn't really build this up, they built it up. But it's this unbelievable example of a generation putting time and effort into another generation who has now grown up and is putting time and effort into this new generation. So I love that my children can be learning music there, but we need space. We just don't have the space. We've got kids everywhere, and so that's our challenge right now.
Are you going to stage some sort of fundraising drive for this, or?
We are thinking about doing some sort of a building project where we would be able to do fundraising specifically for it. But as you know, that requires a lot of planning, and we're trying to get into that now.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll hear more of that in the spring, right?
I'm sure we will.
Yes.
But I think the main concern at this point is just to focus on the holiday needs. And Jenny mentioned about bell ringers. I guess since she is within the Corps, and I'm a volunteer outside. I will point out for viewers that are interested in volunteering as bell ringers, grab the Galleria food court area if you'd like to come by and ring a bell. Food court at the Galleria, or alternatively the Westchester Mall near the fountain. Notice those are two bell ringing places that are inside.
Warm.
So
Inside.
yeah, if you want to try it out, I would recommend those two hot spots.
And I understand
Figuratively and literally.
I understand the number to call is 914-949-2908.
That's right.
correct. If you want to volunteer for any of the Salvation Army's needs, okay? 949-2908. Now, I wanted to ask you, how strong a role does God and religion play in the Salvation Army's mission?
I think that when you will talk to Salvation Army officers, you will find that on a personal level, many of them do have a relationship with God. Many of us, well, all of us, we go through those 2 years of training. It's also seminary. So we leave as ordained ministers. And that is the church side of it. But certainly people are not required to come and be involved in any of our religious activities in order to be helped.
I
So when people come to us, there's no questions to them about any religious activities at all. They simply come to us, they sit down with our social worker and receive the help that they need.
Right. So in the social work services, you have a lot of call for that. correct?
Absolutely. We have a lot of people who come. Right now, what we see in at least our area of White Plains is that there is a lot of unemployment. Unemployment then leads to housing issues, and housing issues lead to hunger and poverty and all of those things. And so we have a food pantry. And so people come 5 days a week and can receive help with the food pantry.
Do you have to qualify for that? Or
Yes, but normally it's not a problem. The people
It's
who
a-
come and
I
need
see.
the help are able to be helped.
what days are?
And
what
that's Monday through
What
Friday.
times?
Monday through Friday from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Yeah.
See, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's why you are here,
There
to
you
be
go.
heard about these things. Now, whom does the Salvation Army serve? The typical person. What is the
It's very interesting
profile?
to me because it seems to change over time. And it also changes with the different Salvation Armies that we've served in. But here it seems to be many of the people who actually live around, in our area. A lot of the people who
So west
live
side
in the
of town.
projects
Yeah.
over by Sterling Avenue. It's not too far from there. But a lot of people who are obviously struggling. It's people who come in and are living in pain. And for some of them, it doesn't have to necessarily be pain that's related to money. It's emotional pain or mental pain, and they need to come in and all they want to do is sit down and talk. So we're able to be there and help out someone who is physically hungry, but we're also able to sit down and speak to somebody who maybe is spiritually hungry.
I see. Do you have a particular other number for persons who would like to take advantage of that?
A phone number?
Yes, other than the one I just gave?
That's
Same
the
one?
phone number to call.
Okay.
Yes, that will get you
Right.
in touch with us.
Right. How is the money raised from your volunteers used?
So the money that we raise at Christmas time this is our big fundraiser. This is our fundraiser for the year,
I see.
other than the breakfast, of course. But this money is used so that we can continue throughout the year with the different programs that we do. So it will be used to help with our after-school program. It'll be used in order for us to purchase any kind of instruments that are needed for the music program. It helps us to be able to purchase food if we need it, if we're not getting enough donations for the food pantry. It helps us to purchase those things.
So this is far bigger to you than I ever thought. Right.
It is, because I want to mention about the music. As you know, John, the sports show, and you see, I see here in White Plains youngsters involved with athletics and sports. But, you know, we all know that an athletic career, let's say, lasts at best just your high school years or even 3 years after that. But what I see with the Army here, and the music group is headed up by a young man, Cassius, and I'm blanking out as to Cassius's last name. The point is, here is this young man who's still in college, but he's teaching young people how to play music. And you have a young person, a child or teen, coming away with a talent or skill that is a lifetime of enjoyment, entertainment, and pleasing. And I have to commend the music group, because I had the honor of listening to the New York City Salvation Army and their musical group. But you look at the talent pool there, the size of New York City, and here in White Plains, it's parity. It's parity there between the musical groups when you hear the quality of the tunes.
We have about 20 young people in the youth band, and then a similar number in the youth chorus that's led by Lily Finnegan, who is a Salvationist from Ireland. So,
well, this is so. It's very important. So I think we're going to try and put this show on the internet as soon as possible, so it can get out there and you can have the volunteers, would-be volunteers, phone on in. How does the Salvation Army define the mission of a Corps officer?
geez, for me, when we talk about the mission of a Corps officer, it could go on for like an hour, what the mission of the Corps officer is. We wear different hats, many different hats. So we, of course, have to wear the fundraiser hat. Then we've got to put on the public relations hat and get into the community, get to know people, get people to know us. And so that they can trust us, because you can't buy that, you know what I mean?
No, credibility is key.
Absolutely. And then there's the small things, and probably the things that people don't really want to talk about. There's the janitor hat. You know, we're cleaning.
And you have a very small paid staff at the Salvation Army.
Yes, so there's 4, and then a part-time janitor who's there like every once in a while. But Craig is our youth worker, and he goes above and beyond. He works so many hours, works so late, and he really has a heart for the kids. And Claire is our social worker, and she has been there for over 20 years. But that's it. That's it. So everything, you know, they have, you know, we've got to decorate the church, and we've got to clean up, and we've got to make sure everything's set. So there's a lot.
Would you recommend the Salvation Army as a satisfying career?
I think so. I mean, I can say only for myself that it is the most satisfying thing that I could do with my life, and that I wouldn't want to do anything else. But I will say that it is a lot of work and a lot of commitment. And if someone is not willing to put that in, then I would say no, because it would not be as satisfying if you're not able to give everything you have to it.
So how did you decide you wanted to do this?
Well, my husband and I both grew up in the Salvation Army. His parents are Salvation Army officers in South America, in Chile. And so he grew up in a very different Salvation Army than me, because I grew up here in the United States with the Salvation Army, and my parents were officers as well. So after college, I was working at a Salvation Army as a youth worker. And throughout that year and a half, I just felt that this was what was going to be my path in life, and I enjoyed being able to serve other people, and I enjoyed being able to be a part of a community, and went for it.
So how do you and Sam divide the Corps officer duties? Do you have disagreements? Do you discuss things?
We
no, of
never
course you don't.
disagree.
Of course you don't. Yeah.
The beauty of the way that we're able to do things, I think, is that my strengths are offset by his weaknesses, and his strengths are offset by my weaknesses, and so it works out. My husband takes care of the financial side of it at the Salvation Army, and he deals with things like ordering the food and that kind of a thing for the food pantry. And he is also probably the most patient man that you'll ever meet, and he is.
Most men have to be patient.
With me, he definitely has to be patient. So he is a definite people person as far as the people who come into the Salvation Army, and he's wonderful with the kids. And then I definitely love public relations, so I will be going out, and I go out and to meet with the Kiwanis Club and the Rotary and different organizations like that, and do some of the programs that we have.
Yeah. Do caregiving organizations like yours and others work together?
Absolutely. We
Around
love
the
we love to collaborate with others. We often collaborate with the Red Cross, but if there are
Particularly in disasters, yes.
any other organizations that want to collaborate, we love to do that, because I think we're all really just looking to help.
Right.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to jump in as to Sam tapping on my shoulder, and that's something that he asked me to make a couple of phone calls to community groups since I've been in White Plains here since 1998. There's youth groups in churches, synagogues, and other organizations, so that, again, I'm mentioning the bell ringing only because this is an opportunity for groups to come in and do. So, yes, between Jenny and Sam, I make sure that I just get into the board meetings and get out, because there's always something to do. But
right. Now, could the caring communities develop a more coordinated effort than they're doing now?
I think that the answer to that is always yes.
Always.
I mean, always we can do better to work together. I think that having worked as a Salvation Army officer for 15 years now, I completely understand. We're so busy. And I think everybody's so busy that sometimes we just don't think, let me reach out to this group or that group. But we can always do better.
What makes you different from other organizations?
I think that there are many things that are the same, but I think that for us, something that makes us different is the music program, for sure. Because like the Red Cross, we are here to help in emergencies, but we're also here to think about the future of the people who are being helped in the emergency. So a lot of people who come to us to our music program have come to us because their parents were helped at some time. So I think that we're here for the present crisis, but we're also here for the future of the people that we're helping.
Now, you also have 3 children, and there's a shot of your family coming up. And how do you juggle this great responsibility? That's Sam in the background.
Yeah, that's us.
That's right. So how does that work?
I think it works differently for everyone. And
Yeah.
for us, what has worked is that we get the kids involved in every aspect of what we do. They thankfully love the after-school program. It's like the little ones sometimes, I'm ready to go home. The other 2, it's like pulling them to go home,
Great.
When we go visit nursing homes and hand out gifts, they go with us. They'll sing. They'll do different things. They'll say hello to people. I make sure to definitely take them to ring the bell at least once or twice each Christmas, so that they can be a part of that. The other day they were at Sam's singing. So it's definitely bringing them in, making them a part of what we're doing, making them understand why helping others is so important.
Well, more than ever, that is needed going forward in today's world, the country, the state, the town that you live in. And I wanted to ask you now, it's your time. What would you like to say to our audience? And so.
Okay. Well, on a personal level, I would just like to say that I really am passionate about helping other people, and I really want to give people the opportunity to be able to help as well. Even going to stand, and a lot of people, what I've found is a lot of people will think, well, what I can give isn't enough. I remember a gentleman coming to me and saying, you know, I'd love to donate, but what I can give isn't enough. But when we all come together, what you can give is enough. So that, of course, is in regards to money as well, but even with ringing the bell, if you think all I can give is an hour, that's not enough, it is enough. So I think what I'd like to say to the community is we need all hands on deck. We need anybody, even if it's only an hour, 2 hours, that they can ring the bell to help us out this Christmas season. It's enough.
Great, and that number to volunteer for either the bell ringing or the anything that the Salvation Army would like you to do is 914-949-2908. And we have a video that we're going to go out with, which was prepared by the Salvation Army, which wraps it up. So, Jenny Alarcon, Corps officer, with her husband Sam of the Salvation Army in White Plains, and John Vorparian, board member, you have been heard. And once again, the number to call to help to volunteer, 949-2908.
This is a story about a battle. Believe it or not, it's a real-life battle that happens every day, all around us. It's a battle against all the things in life that are hard, and sometimes people don't win. Sometimes their stockings are still empty on Christmas morning, or they have to go to bed hungry, or they don't go to bed at all because they don't have a home or even a place to sleep. But there's an army dedicated to fighting this battle. They're in every town and every city. A bell is their battle cry, and their weapons are hope, kindness, and compassion. Best of all, anybody can join them, anywhere there's a red kettle. Because at Christmas, love has an army that fights for good. When you give, you help the Salvation Army fight for those most in need.